Do you really want a car that drives itself? You want a car that steers for you, applies the brakes for you, keeps you in your lane at all times? You may not want a car that does all these things for you. It sounds wonderful that you can finally sit back and relax and let the car do all the driving. Well, it's not here yet, but it will eventually be here. I mean, already there is features on cars for keeping you in the lane, for applying the brakes in an emergency. And Cadillac this year is coming out with a car that on the highway will steer the car for you. I don't think you may want these features. Let me relate to you a story. I was watching on TV a documentary about a commercial jet that went down in the Atlantic Ocean, killing everybody. And what happened is the plane was basically flown by computer. The pilots were just there to kind of give everybody an assurance that someone was in control of the plane. But once they got, I guess, I don't know what point from takeoff, they turned it into autopilot and the plane flew itself. They could sit back and relax, but there was a sensor on the outside of the plane that told them what the, I guess, what the temperature is or the speed is, and this froze up in an ice cloud. Sensor didn't work anymore. This lone sensor shut down the entire computer of the plane. It no longer was able to fly by computer. Now, the pilots had to take over control manually of the plane. Well, you'd say, well, that's no problem. Pilots know how to do that. They'll take over and everything will be fine. Well, it didn't turn out fine. The plane crashed into the ocean, killing everybody. And why did the plane crash into the ocean? Because the pilots didn't know how to fly the plane in manual mode. Well, yes, they had training and a trainer on the ground simulating what happens when they need to take over the controls of the plane manually. Sure, they were trained, but they were never trained on the plane while in flight to manually control the plane. They had no experience. So the few times that they learned how to fly the plane manually was on the ground in a simulator. But when it came time, crunch time in the plane, when the computer actually failed, they didn't know what to do. Yes, they knew what to do when they were in training, but it never kicked in because they never controlled the plane manually. And they made wrong decisions because they had no practice, no experience on flying the plane manually. Thus, the plane went into the ocean, killing everybody. So this is an instance of where a device like a plane is completely automated. The pilots can sit back and relax until the computer fails. Well, this could happen in a car where you are so used to letting the car drive itself that you no longer have any practice on driving the car. And if the computer fails in the car and you have to suddenly take over, you may not have the experience to handle the car any longer. I'll give you an example. On my last several cars of mine, I've had backup cameras. I'm so used to backup cameras that I'm no good at backing a car up without them. I was in Las Vegas and I rented a car and it had no backup camera. I had a real problem backing that car up in casino garages without hitting another car behind me. Because I haven't done it for years, backed the car up without the backup camera. So this is a problem when you become dependent on automation in a plane and in the future in a car. You just might forget how to drive it in an emergency.